Hello, welcome back to my journaling process videos. This is the first process video I'm doing in my art journal. So, I don't know if you watched my introduction video about the art journal I'm going to be working in for a while, but if you haven't, go check it out if you want to know a bit of background about the book I'm working in. Otherwise, this is just going to be a little process video on the first ever page I ever did, so I am a newbie at art journaling. Sorry, can't talk. I'm a newbie at art journaling, so I'm just kind of having a play on this page and breaking into my journal for the first time. And I have a rough idea of what I want to do, but I'm just going to go with the flow and see what happens. So I have this book page, which I really liked because it has two boys. Two little boys. I have two boys, but they're babies. Well, one's 10 months and one's 3 years old. So they're not this old as the children in the illustrations, but I still thought it was kind of symbolic, so I decided to use it in my journal. And I used it as a background. So the first thing I did was just stuck it down, and now I'm going in with gesso over some of the text from the story. And then I'm using some more gesso just around the edges just to soften up the picture, give it a bit of a border, and maybe give me some extra room to kind of work on the page. So again, I'm not exactly sure when I first started this page what I was going to do, but I did have some drawings in a sketchbook, which I'm pulling out now, that I had done earlier that day, just of my kids. So what I'm going to do is pull them out of my sketchbook, and then I'm going to cut them out and I'm going to use them on the page. So I have 3 here, but I do only use 2 because I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to use on this page. So they're not the best drawings, but it doesn't matter really. They were fun to do. And again, I haven't done any art like this in so long, so sometimes it's good to just get started. It doesn't have to be perfect. This little baby drawing that I'm cutting out now, his eyes kind of look a bit creepy, but I add colour and stuff later, and it looks better later. So I'm just cutting those out, and then I'm going to stick them onto the page. So I'm just playing around with where I want them to go. Have a rough idea, but yeah, just trimming them down so they're going to fit where I want them to be. And then I have some scraps of ledger paper and some napkin, I think it is. And then I'm just going to stick those onto the page as well and give me some extra space to play around with. So just trimming it down. And then I'm just using a glue stick to stick those down as well. I'm just trying to stick it down without smudging the pencil too much. The pencil I used was really smudgy, so it's a bit tricky, but I do end up covering, like painting over these drawings anyways. So for the drawings, I did use PVA glue to stick them down because it's quite a thick, like nice quality, heavy paper. So for the ledger paper, it was fine to use a glue stick because it's so thin, and it's going to stick fine with the glue stick. But yeah, for the heavier paper, I use PVA glue, which I use all the time because it's so versatile. I did make a little mark on my drawing, on my baby drawing's face there, but it's okay. I go in with gesso and I cover it up. Another reason why I'm using gesso on top of the drawings is because, like I said, the pencil is so smudgy. so I kind of wanted to seal it in so that I could start adding colours and stuff. The only thing that I didn't like about this in the end was that the paints I used didn't take that well to the gesso compared to how they would have taken to the paper, that art paper, if it didn't have gesso on it. So I learnt a lot doing this page, even though I'm not that fond of it now. When I did it, it was definitely a good learning experience, and just, as I said, getting started in the book without being too particular about it was just fun to have a little play with it. So now I'm just playing around, seeing what else I want to add to the page. Have this napkin thingy, and I'm just going to use pieces of the design on the page as well. So I'm just kind of seeing where I want to put it, and then I end up ripping around the edges where I cut. Sorry that I'm out of frame, but I'm just ripping the edges so it's not got that sharp line when I glue it down. So put a little bit down the bottom there, and just, again, I'm using PVA glue to stick that down. And then a little bit on the other side of the page just to balance it out. And again, I'm just ripping around the design so it's not got sharp edges. What do I do next? Oh, okay. So now I've got this tape. Marina sent me this tape. Thank you, Marina. I'm just going to use this down the middle, and I'm just putting this down the middle because there's that gap, like that white space there. So I didn't really like that too much, and also just to stop those pages and papers from coming back up and getting stuck, like when you open and close the book. And I used a little bit of PVA glue as well to stick that down, because washi tape and paper tapes are like removable, and I didn't want it to be. I wanted it to be permanent. So now I'm just mixing some paints, and I think I'm making a skin colour. So I've got some paints, some watercolor paints actually, they are, and I'm just having a play with trying to get a skin colour. I think I used red, blue, white, I don't know, maybe, I don't know what I used. I'm sorry that I'm out of frame, but I'm just mixing it, and then I'm adding quite a bit of water to it because I don't want it to be very thick, and I don't want it to be opaque because I'm going to use the drawings, like the pencil lines that I used for like a guide later when I add those details back to the faces. So I'm just adding the paint, and I'm really bad with paints. Like, I don't know, I just feel like I don't have much control when I'm painting. I'm just not good at it. So, yeah, it's a learning experience and it's fun, so it's okay. I'm just going to try and work the paint on. It's a bit, like, muddy, and I don't think I was very happy with it, so I wiped it off and started again. I think the problem was that I used gesso, and with the watercolour paints, I don't know, it just wasn't sitting nicely when it was watery, so the next time I used it, I used a little less water because it was kind of like bubbling on top of the gesso. So if I had have used the paper where I drew the drawings in the first place without gesso, it would have worked better because it's much more porous, whereas the gesso kind of seals it over, and so the water was sitting funny on top. And then here I wanted to make my baby boy's cheeks pink and flushed because he always has pink cheeks lately, and I had the same problem. It was just a bit like muddy and yeah, but it's alright. I took a sponge to it and just like dab it over it so that it would look less patchy. Now I'm going to use that same colour and I'm going to darken it up and add some deeper colours to make a brown for the hair. So actually my boys have, they have like a light browny blondie hair, but blonde is such a hard colour to make, so I just went with like a light brown, and then later I'll use pencils and stuff to add some highlights to their hair. So I just transformed the skin colour because I didn't want to waste that paint, so I just turned it into brown. And at first it looks really gross and like blotchy and stuff. Like all the different papers that I had, like the papers I'm using in the first place aren't really great quality, so the paint doesn't sit great on them, but it's alright. I'm gonna make it work. It's my first art journal, so I'm definitely not gonna put pressure on myself by using like supplies that are expensive and top quality and feel like I have to do top quality work. This is just like playing and practicing. So what do I do? Okay, now I'm using these old watercolor paints. They are super old actually. I used to use these when I was still in school, just when I used to do art for fun. So they're a bit gross, but I just want to add a bit of blue around the page. So again, the way the paint and the water was sitting on the paper was not very nice. And it looks really blotchy and it seeps into some places, so I'm taking a sponge and I'm just going to like dab it over. I did fast forward some parts of the video, so if you see like little extra details popping up in between, it's because I fast forwarded the video. So here I'm just going to dry it, and I hope I fast forwarded this part too because it takes me a bit. And now I'm going to go back in and add some details to the faces. So I'm using my micron pens, and I'm just going to, first of all, I'm just doodling in the corner there over those napkins, and this was really just to get a feel for the pen. So I don't know about anyone else, but when I first start drawing, whether it's with pencil or pen, I kind of need to like warm up and like test out how the pen feels on the paper and like stabilize my hand. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just need to like warm up. So that's all I'm doing down here. Just doing some like doodling, completely imperfect, and then I'm going to go on to adding the details to the faces. So I'm just following the lines that I've drawn earlier with pencil, and yeah, adding the details back. So I'm sorry about my head popping up in the corner there. I'm in deep concentration mode. Yeah. So something about the eyes in this drawing I didn't really like. But yeah. It turned out alright in the end when I added the colour. So I'm adding some details back into the hair, which kind of fixes up the like muddy look of the paint. And then, yeah, I'm just gonna draw for a little bit. So I'm probably just gonna stop talking and let you watch me finish adding the details. So now I'm going to go in with some coloured pencils. These are actually watercolor pencils. And I'm just going to add some more colour, some more detail back into the faces, make them look a bit more human, try and fix up those crazy looking eyes. And yeah, just bring some colour, because those drawings I wanted to be the main focus of the page, so they need to be sort of the most vibrant, because this page is so like crowded with stuff, I feel like. So that's all I'm doing here. I'm not being too careful about it, not putting too much thought into it, and because they are watercolour pencils, I can always go in later with a paintbrush and water and just fix up any lines that look funny. So I did make a little mistake again on the baby's face. I like put a mark on his nose, and luckily, because they were watercolour pencils, I could just put some water on it and dab it right off. So that's all I did there. And now I'm just colouring in the stripes on the shirt. My 3-year-old does have a shirt that looks like this, so that's why I'm colouring it in these specific colours. So I don't know how I feel about this page. It's a bit like, I don't know, I feel like people do art journal pages that are really abstract and really fun and they look really beautiful. And this page was kind of just like mostly collaging my own art and like other stuff. I don't know though. I'm glad I did it, like even though I don't love it to pieces, I'm really glad that I did it as my first page. Because I think next time if I did a page like this, I've learnt so much about how I would do things differently. So it's a good learning experience and it was fun to do it. So here, it's pretty self-explanatory. All I'm doing is doing some really simple little flowers. I'm just doing clusters of them all around the border with my pen, and I fast forwarded it because it took me ages to draw those tiny little flowers. And then I'm just adding some little dots in between the flowers. Yeah, those flowers are super simple. Yeah, if I'm going to draw that many flowers, I'm going to keep it easy, because it took me ages just to do those, and they were so easy. So now I'm just going around some of those letters, and I went over the letters that said boy. I think I did boys. So you can still read the rest of the title, but boys stands out. And then, what did I do? Okay, I did some really messy journaling down the bottom corner. Just about having siblings, basically. My dad used to always say that your sisters are the best friends you'll ever have. So I was just writing how that it's probably the same with brothers. And now I'm going to add some colour to those flowers with my watercolour pencil again. I'm so sorry about the video shaking like that. I think I do fast forward through. But basically, it was hard to get the colour to show on some of the flowers just because of the different surfaces, so I ended up giving up on the pencil anyways and going in with a texter just because it was so much easier on my hand. Like with the pencil I was pressing really hard trying to get the pigment to show, and it just wasn't working, so I used a texter. It was a lot easier. And I didn't colour in every single flower either, because that would have taken me forever. Now I'm taking some texture paste and I'm going to use some more paint and mix it up with the texture paste. I made a green and I Again, I used the brown that was already on my palette to mix the colour because I didn't want to waste it. And I'm just going to mix it around so that the texture paste has a bit of colour to it. And then I am going to use, oh crap, yeah, my video cut. I used a stencil, sorry, I used a stencil to add like a little border around it, and now I'm just drying it off. So I think that's all I did to the page after that. So yeah, that was my first page. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I hope you enjoyed this process video. And I'm not done yet. Okay, I add stamping. I add some stamping to the page, and I just stamped the word brothers. And then I'm finished. So thank you guys so much for watching this process video. I hope you enjoyed it, and keep an eye out for more very soon. Bye!